Have you ever found yourself in a discussion where, even after saying everything you needed to, you walked away feeling like you lost? Have you ever felt that knot in your throat, as if every word spoken had pushed you further away from your own strength? Perhaps you're surrounded by people who speak loudly, interrupt, mock, and dominate environments with arrogance disguised as confidence. And maybe deep down, you believed that staying silent was a sign of weakness, that not defending yourself was surrendering, that not reacting was losing. But what if I told you that all of this is an illusion? That true power has never been in words, but in their absence. Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, saw something that few have the courage to admit. Those who talk too much reveal too much. Those who need to convince are already at a disadvantage. The world teaches us that we must fight, explain ourselves, defend our ideas, as if every conversation were a battle for the truth. But Nietzsche proposes something different, a more subtle, more lethal, and infinitely more intelligent path. He believed that silence is not just an absence of noise, but an overwhelming presence. Silence disconcerts. It destabilizes. It forces the other to confront themselves. This video is for you who constantly feels ignored, overshadowed, invalidated. For you who leaves conversations with the feeling that no one really heard what you meant to say. For you who is tired of being the easy target, the nice one, the one who tries to keep the peace while others take advantage of your calm. Perhaps you have confused your silence with submission, but today I will show you that silence can be your most powerful weapon, and that true victory does not come from winning an argument, but from never needing to enter one. Get ready to see silence in a new light, not as an absence of response, but as the definitive response. Let's dive into Nietzsche's ideas and discover how to master any situation without saying a single word. Why do we feel such a need to respond, to rebut, to correct, to prove that we are right? Because deep down, we have been conditioned to believe that the truth must be defended tooth and nail, that if we remain silent, we are allowing others to win. But Nietzsche saw this as a symptom of our deepest weakness, the fear of appearing weak. And behind this fear lies the ego, a fragile ego that cannot stand being questioned, that confuses disagreement with attack, and that turns any conversation into a battlefield. Nietzsche said that most people do not seek the truth when they argue, they seek power. They seek to reaffirm their beliefs, not because they are solid, but because if they are shaken, everything crumbles. Argumentation, in this sense, is not a tool of wisdom. It is a defensive armor, a desperate cry from the ego to maintain control of the narrative. And what does this mean? That when you feel compelled to justify yourself, to prove your point, you have already entered their game and lost. Because the simple need to justify your position shows that you are still trapped in the desire to be accepted, validated, understood. Nietzsche called this the herd morality, the behavior of those who live under the expectations of others, who want to be seen as good, correct, just. But this quest for approval is exactly what keeps you weak. True strength, Nietzsche said, lies not in convincing others, but in not needing to do so. It is in holding your vision, even in the face of laughter, criticism, rejection. It is in being misunderstood and remaining unshaken. What he proposes to us is a type of power that is not measured in verbal victories, but in internal mastery. A power that comes from the ability to remain calm while everyone around you is losing control. a power that grows when you stop reacting. If you really want to win, you need to understand this. The game of discussion is a theater, and the first to stand up to act has already lost. Nietzsche knew that the reactive mind is a subjugated mind. The observing mind, that is the dangerous one, because it is above the need to prove anything. But then, if we should not react, how can we exert power over others? If words betray us, how do we make others feel our strength without saying a single phrase? Nietzsche had an answer for that. And it lies in the ideal of the Übermensch, the being who transcends the limitations of common morality and dominates the world through absolute self-control. In the next part, we will explore this figure and understand how it embodies the strategic use of silence as a weapon of dominance. Are you ready for this level? Because from here on out, silence begins to speak. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Nietzsche did not write for the weak. He wrote for the few who have the courage to look within, confront their own misery, and transform it into strength. For him, the common human lives trapped by conventions, moralism, and the need for others' applause. But there exists another type of being, rare, dangerous, free. The Übermensch, or Overman, does not live by reacting to the world. He shapes the world in his own image. And the most impressive part, he often does this in complete silence. The Übermensch does not need to win debates. He does not engage in cheap emotional games. He observes, he understands, he carefully chooses when to speak, and more importantly, when to remain silent, because he has understood something that others ignore. Silence is a form of language, a language that does not try to convince. It imposes presence. The silence of the Übermensch is not empty. It is a threat. It is authority. It is the sound of self-mastery. While others shout, he commands respect with his gaze. While others explain, he observes and reveals others' weaknesses merely with his calm. His silence is a wall. Those on the other side despair, trying to guess what lies behind it. And in that despair, they make mistakes. They reveal too much. They lose their balance. This silence is not passivity. It is absolute control of one's own energy. It is strategic economy. The Übermensch knows that every spoken word is a revealed move. Every emotional reaction is an exposure of a weak point. That is why he remains quiet. Not because he has nothing to say, but because he does not need to say anything. He has transcended the need to prove something to someone. His presence already speaks for him. And more than that, it disturbs, because his silence forces others to look within, to deal with their own noise. In a society of noise, those who master silence are kings. Nietzsche saw the Übermensch as one who creates his own values, his own rules, his own morality. He does not depend on anyone's validation, and that is why he is feared. Because nothing destabilizes more than an individual who cannot be manipulated by guilt, fear, or the need for acceptance. His silence is the shield against all these mechanisms, and when he speaks, it is because his words will topple an empire. But this raises an essential question. What makes silence so unsettling for others? Why do so many people feel threatened when someone simply chooses not to react? What happens within the human mind when the expected confrontation is replaced by an overwhelming absence? The answer lies in psychology, and that is exactly what we will explore in the next part. Because to understand the power of silence, we first need to understand the chaos it generates in the minds of others. And believe me, it is much deeper than it seems. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a mirror, and what it reflects, for many, is unbearable. When you choose not to react, you are not just silencing yourself. You are forcing the other person to hear their own voice, to confront their own arguments without the comfort of external resistance. And that destabilizes, because most people do not speak to express themselves. They speak to protect themselves, to convince themselves, to hide the emptiness that exists between what they say and who they are. And then, when you remain silent, their disguise falls away. Social psychology has already shown that in confrontational situations, silence is perceived as judgment. It doesn't matter if you are just listening. The speaker begins to feel exposed, insecure. Why? Because without your response, without your reaction, they lose control of the narrative. The human brain goes into a state of alert. The amygdala, the region of fear and anxiety, activates. The other person starts to project their own fears onto you. Is he judging me? Did he notice my insecurity? Does he know I'm bluffing? And in this psychological battlefield, silence acts like an invisible blade. It cuts where no one sees, but everyone feels. Nietzsche sensed this long before modern psychology confirmed it. For him, the average person lives as a slave to their reactions. They act on impulse, react out of vanity, speak out of fear of being forgotten. The superior spirit, the one who masters themselves, remains silent, because they know that every word given is a piece handed to the enemy. Every emotional reaction is an involuntary scream that reveals where to attack. Moreover, silence has a devastating effect on manipulators. People who thrive on the emotional control of others depend on their reactions to stay in the game. When you do not react, you break the cycle, and the manipulator panics. They need your response to validate their own position. Without it, they lose themselves, they reveal themselves, they show the weakness they have tried so hard to hide. But there is something even deeper. Silence also triggers unresolved pains. It activates traumas of rejection, abandonment, humiliation, because suddenly the other person realizes they are not at the center, that their words are not enough, that their presence does not make an impact. And this is intolerable for the narcissistic ego. That is why, when you remain silent, you are not just defending yourself. You are attacking where it hurts the most, at the center of the illusion. This is why silence requires strength. It is uncomfortable, not just for others, but for you as well. Because it goes against everything that has been taught, against the impulse to react, to justify oneself, to explain oneself. But it is precisely for this reason that it is powerful, because it demands mastery, and mastery is true power. Now that you understand how silence operates in the mind of the other, how it activates insecurities, breaks down defenses, and unmasks postures, it is time to go further, to stop being just an observer and become someone who uses this strength intentionally, strategically. In the next part, you will discover exactly how to transform silence into a conscious weapon, how to win any argument without saying a single word. And when you learn to do this, no one will be able to control you anymore. The time has come to stop merely understanding the power of silence and start using it. Because knowledge without practice is just dead theory. From now on, you will learn to transform your silence into a precision weapon, no longer as a defensive shield, but as a sharp blade, ready to cut through others' masks at the exact moment they least expect it. And the first step